From February to August of this year, I sold off almost half of my entire music gear collection, and it honestly changed my relationship with gear. Let's talk about it. So first of all, let me explain why I had to sell gear. Earlier this year, my girlfriend got offered an amazing opportunity that would require us to move across Canada. Once she accepted it and once we knew we were moving, I knew I'd have to sell some gear because in an effort to save money, we decided against using movers and decided to just take my SUV and sell our belongings that we couldn't fit into it. This significantly limited how much stuff we both could take with us, but what further limited how much stuff we could take was the fact that we were also taking our cat Tomato across the country, and his carrier took up the whole back seat of my SUV. So all in all, we had to fit all of our belongings into my roof box, the trunk, and some parts in the back seat that wouldn't interfere with his carrier. Now you may assume that I was bummed knowing that I'd have to sell so much gear, but honestly, I felt the complete opposite. I was excited. I love the ideas of fresh starts and starting over, and this to me was no exception. But before I could even consider daydreaming about what my life would look like after the move, I had to get focused on selling my gear and selling it fairly fast because I knew back in February, August was going to come super fast. And it sure did. So I decided to make a list of all of my gear and categorize everything into 3 different categories. Gear that I needed, gear that I could repurchase, and gear that I could live without. And doing this made me realize something. Writing my list was the first time I was directly confronted with the idea of selling my gear. And I realized pretty quickly that, geez, I have so much gear, too much gear. I had always dreamed of owning a ton of gear, and I had definitely accumulated a lot of stuff over the years. But now where I'm at in my life, I want less gear. I want to focus more on just creating music with the gear I have. So doing this list was super helpful because I realized there was a lot of pieces of gear that I just wasn't using anymore. So I listed that gear and sold it, and I was super happy. Though I did have to wrestle with the idea of sentimentality and knowing when to let go of certain pieces of gear. One particular piece of gear that made me face this was my 1980s Fender Made in Japan Contemporary Telecaster. This was the first guitar I ever restored, and I spent a lot of time and money restoring it. But truth be told, shortly after restoring it, I kind of fell out of love with it. I didn't really play it anymore, and I didn't really care for it. But even though I wasn't playing the guitar and didn't really care for it, I still had a hard time coming to grips with selling it. So I asked myself, did I see myself playing the guitar in a year? No. Did I see myself doing more mods to it? No, I didn't want to sink more money into the guitar. And I realized I was holding on to this guitar because of the memories, and that's it. And when I realized this, it clicked for me that I'll always have the memories of this equipment, and especially so for this guitar because I literally did a video on the restoration process. And I didn't need to hold on to the equipment to remember it, and it would be better for me to sell it, have the money to invest in something else, rather than just letting a piece of gear collect dust when it could go to a new home that would use it more. So I listed it for sale, and someone bought it, and they absolutely love the guitar. And the moment it left my place and I saw its space empty on my guitar rack, I knew I made the right decision. Once I sold the Telecaster, I was way more comfortable with letting go of gear that I had sentimental attachment to. And this actually led me to another lesson. For me, if I could sell multiple pieces of gear that I didn't use very much to afford one piece of gear that I'd use all the time, it was worth it. And this happened when I sold my Kemper. I owned a Kemper for 8 years and it served me well. However, over the past couple of years, I started using it less and less just because it wasn't really fitting into my workflow how I wanted it to. I realized that a Quad Cortex would work better with my workflow, but I couldn't justify getting one just because I didn't want to spend the money on another modeler and I wasn't ready to sell my Kemper yet. But as I was in the process of making my list for the move, I realized that why am I holding on to my Kemper if it's already collecting dust? It's just going to collect more dust after I move, and it's just going to take up so much space during moving. I realized then that it was time for me to get rid of the Kemper, so I traded it in and I got rid of some other gear to afford the Quad Cortex, and I've been so happy. It was the best decision I could have made, honestly. I don't think about the Kemper now. I love my Quad Cortex so much, and it's improved my workflow just how I thought it would. As the days and weeks and months kept passing by, I saw my room full of gear shrink more and more and more. Guitars on my rack started disappearing. Then my guitar rack disappeared. And then all of a sudden, I had 2 guitars out on stands, with the rest being packed up in cases awaiting the move. And during this, something interesting happened. I felt more creative, which is exactly the opposite of how I thought I would feel. I thought having all my gear packed away would make me feel less creative because I had less toys to play with, so to speak. But I felt the opposite because I had less distractions. Suddenly, I wasn't worrying about what particular guitar to use for a particular song or what pedal to use. I used what I had available because, truth be told, I was too lazy to go into my closet and take out my other guitars from cases. So I made do with what I had, and honestly, I created more music than I had in a long time. And I tried to channel that vibe into this space here. I wanted less distractions. I wanted just to have what I needed out, and that's it. And so far, it's been working really great, and I'm still feeling super creative. After months of selling countless gear, by August, I had actually sold everything that I needed to. I sold around 5 guitars, so many different guitar pedals, and just a ton of other random music gear. By moving day, I was able to fit 4 of my guitars, my girlfriend's bass, and all of my office stuff into a small container. Everything that we needed fit perfectly in the SUV, but there were a couple of pieces of gear that I did want to bring with me that I wasn't able to. The first was my Gibson SG. I love that guitar, but I just couldn't find room to take it, unfortunately. And the other were my Nana's musical instruments. I really wanted to bring these with me. I really wanted to restore them, and I had already bought some parts to restore them, but I didn't want to transport them with me because they didn't have cases, and I didn't want these like almost 100-year-old instruments to be destroyed in the car. So I thought it would just be better to leave those and the SG with my parents, so that way when I visit them, I can play those instruments and enjoy them then. So having finally settled into my new place, I can definitely say I have a new outlook on gear. I'm definitely enjoying a more simple, more minimalist approach, but I'll be the first to say that this won't last forever. Eventually I'll change and want to have way more gear or just have a completely different approach. And that's okay. And honestly, I'm not bothered by that. I'm accepting that it will eventually happen. And honestly, I don't care how long this approach to gear lasts for. It may last 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 months, 2 years, 2 decades. It doesn't matter. All that matters is right now that I'm feeling creatively fulfilled here, and I definitely am. But that's it for me today. If you'd like to learn more about the gear I kept, I've included Sweetwater links down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. I'm Colt, and I'll see you in the next one.